Hello, citizens of Gotham. My name is Graham Elwood, and you are watching The Political Vigilante. We talk a lot about Bitcoin on this show. I just got back from El Salvador for the second time. I was down there for the Adopting Bitcoin conference. I have talked a lot about what El Salvadorian President Bukele has done. He made Bitcoin legal tender, and he locked up about 70,000 criminals in a matter of weeks. Last year in 2022, about a year and a half ago. And having been to Bitcoin twice, or having been to El Salvador twice, I've seen how the combination of locking up the criminals and making Bitcoin legal tender is like really changing that country. There's money pouring into it. When he first passed the law in 2021, making Bitcoin legal tender, I said on this show that this is going to be the first domino to fall, and other countries in Central and South America are going to go Bitcoin. And I talked about this Javier Milei, who was running in Argentina and was talking about being pro-Bitcoin. He's alluded to it. And he just won. He just became the president. And I did a video on him about a month ago where I was like, oh, this could be a good thing. I don't know that much about him. But in looking more, I'm very suspect of this guy. I'm very suspect of this guy. And I'm going to show you why. And and I've said this before, I've said this about DeSantis. DeSantis is pro-Bitcoin, and a lot of people in the Bitcoin community. Look, I'm a Bitcoin maximalist. I used to be a crypto, and I liked Bitcoin and all crypto. I've educated myself on a lot of cryptos are scams, and they're not decentralized. Bitcoin is decentralized. If you read the book Inventing Bitcoin, it'll all be explained to you, and you'll see how it's completely decentralized, and there's no software or back-end hackers or anything like that. You can't do it. So having politicians that are pro-Bitcoin overall is probably good for Bitcoin itself. But DeSantis is a theocratic fascist. I don't like DeSantis. He's more concerned with banning books than he thinks books are more dangerous than guns. RFK is, I don't know that RFK is conservative. He's running as an independent. He was running in the Democratic Party. He says he's pro-Bitcoin. I think RFK just sort of picks whatever controversial topic will get him in the news, and he supports it. I think that's what he does. I wish more lefties would understand Bitcoin. They really, I don't understand why lefties are so resistant to Bitcoin. It's a way to empower yourself. It's a way to get out of the grip of the central banks. But a lot of people were resistant to many things, the internet, whatever. So this is there. And Milei is pretty right wing. And the more I investigate this guy, the more I'm like, wow, he is pretty right wing dude. Set for sharp right turn as Trump-like radical wins presidency. Now, this is the Washington Post. The headline of the Fox News is like, Argentina smashes the left. He was running against a centrist. He wasn't running against the left. And Argentina has runaway inflation. It has runaway inflation, which is not a good thing. And what happens when you get into financial stress, when there's no real progressive left policy or politicians or party, people go to the right. People go to right-wing populists, which is what Trump was. Trump was a right-wing populist. Bernie was a left-wing populist, but he got screwed by the Democratic Party and then didn't fight back hard enough, in my opinion. So a radical libertarian admirer of Donald Trump wrote a wave of voter rage to win Argentina's presidency on Sunday, crushing the political establishment and bringing the sharpest turn in the right in 4 decades of democracy in the country. Javier Milei, a 53-year-old far-right economist and former television pundit with no governing experience, claimed nearly 56% of the vote in a stunning upset over Sergio Massa, the center-left economy minister who has struggled to resolve the country's worst economic crisis in 2 decades. Honestly, this is what happened in the 30s. There was the stock market crash of 1929, which crushed this country and had a ripple effect around the world. America wasn't the economic superpower in the 1920s, but it still affected the world. There was a global depression. It hit other parts of the world. And when people are in times of poverty, right-wing populism can really get a foothold because you're poor, you're hungry, you've lost your job, you can't eat, and somebody comes along and says, that group over there did it. They're the problem. And it's easy when people are hungry, they're scared. It's easy to get people to ride that wave, you know? And when the left doesn't help, when the isn't doing anything, it's a problem. When it's just greedy neoliberals, the neoliberal policy that we talk about on this show, I'm an anti-war, pro-labor socialist. Conservatives would call me a liberal, but they don't know that I don't assign myself to that at all. This is what happens. Again, if we talk about Joe Biden for a second, what if when Joe Biden got into office, Joe Biden has a horrible approval rating right now. What if when he got into office, he was sworn in the middle of COVID. We were still in a national emergency. The president is given broad powers when it's a national emergency. What if he would have said Medicare for all, student debt forgiveness, and rather than these like PPP loans and little stimulus money here and there, he said, look, here's money to pay your rent, then he would have a 70, 80% approval rating. If Bernie would have actually fought and won and not been, he got screwed by the Democrats more than anything, but when that last debate in March 15th, right before the whole country got locked down, Bernie fought harder in that debate and said, I'm going to give you Medicare for all and all this. Again, if it came in and just made people's lives better, no one's life is better under Biden. It wasn't better under Trump either. If you're rich, you got a better tax break. But this is what happens. So then right-wing populism comes up here. So I want to show you, and Milei, Trump congratulated Milei. I'm very proud of you. Trump wrote, and you will turn your country around and make Argentina great again. Oh, geez. Voters in a nation of 46 million demanded a drastic change from a government that has sent the peso tumbling, inflation skyrocketing, and more than 40% of the population into poverty. With Milei, Argentina takes a leap into the unknown with a leader promising to shatter the entire system. His first speech, he said, enough of the impoverishing power of the caste. He said, today we once again embrace the model of liberty, once again become a world power. Long live freedom, right? So one of the things he said that he's going to do, first of all, let's bring this up. This is significant here because one of the things he said he was going to do is pull Argentina off of the peso and onto the US dollar. Now, some people think, some Bitcoiners even are like, oh, that's bad. He's embracing the dollar. Now, that's what Bukele did. Bukele got El Salvador off of the peso, the El Salvadorian peso, and put it on the dollar to put it on a dollar standard, and then brought in Bitcoin. But the real problem with this guy Milei, again, just from the central banks don't like Bitcoin, right? They don't like it. It's a threat to their power because anyone can own it. You can send it across the world on your phone. You don't need to use their banking system. You can create circular economies. 2.5 billion people across the world do not have access to central banking, but they all have a smartphone, which is one of the many powers of Bitcoin. So if a country of 46 million people goes to the Bitcoin standard, that's big, and that could potentially be another country in Latin America that goes to Bitcoin. El Salvador is only 6.5 million people. So Argentina is a big country, is a large GDP. But again, I don't trust this guy, and I'm very suspicious of him for a number of reasons. Let me show you a couple other articles here. So I've shown how BRICS, the BRICS is a Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa. Saudi Arabia has now joined it. BRICS is It's a bunch of countries that are getting off the dollar, which threatens America. That's, again, we've talked about on the show. That's how America flexes its muscle, is not just with its military, obviously, but with sanctions, and it uses the IMF to get countries into debt, right? And remember when Julian Assange was staying in the Ecuadorian embassy in London, and the IMF said, oh, we're going to give you a $500 million loan, but you got to give up Assange. If you don't give up Assange, we're going to pull this $500 million away. So that's how the IMF, which is, part of the United States and the central banks, and the Federal Reserve, which is an illegal banking cartel that we've talked about. So BRICS is a good thing. So now he's saying that, Argentina is probably not going to be with BRICS. So this is not a good sign either. Is no longer joining BRICS, saying his top heir to Javier Milei, right-wing presidential winner. We do not understand the interest in the bloc of leading emerging markets, including China, despite membership being posed to start from January. But new government, unlikely to disrupt ties between Buenos Aires and Beijing, give major financial deals already agreed upon, analysts say. All right. Milei's principal advisor on foreign affairs said Argentina would not proceed with plans to join the association of leading emerging markets comprising of Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. Argentina's BRICS candidacy was the only one of the Americas supported by the group's founding members during the last summit in August. But Milei, during his campaign, pledged to decline membership, which should come into force January 2024. Right-wing libertarian Milei said he would not do business with communist countries and advocating breaking off relations with China in favor of ties with the civilized side of the world. Wow, that's not going to go well. China doesn't take lightly to that kind of stuff. Milei also accused China during the campaign of financing pro-Massa ads on YouTube. Speaking at an event organized by a Washington-based think tank earlier this month, for example, Mondino said there would be no disruption in ties between Buenos Aires and Beijing. This is why another reason why this guy is very suspect. And I'll show you this is who this guy really is. And this is why I don't trust him. And this is where I wish the Bitcoin community would look a little deeper rather than just go, again, the country of Argentina going Bitcoin, I think that's good. That's good. That kicks the central banks in the ass. But this guy is not good. I think he's not good. So this is just a thought. I don't know this person personally, but I follow her. Milei is literally a TV celebrity that is World Economic Forum affiliated. He's a mask-wearing Zionist who supports throwing more money at Israel and Ukraine, and people think this is a win for anti-establishment leadership. For fuck's sake, wake up. He's an obvious plant. Yes, he is pro-Israel, and he is pro... yeah, this one. There's a chunk of truthers who are upset about Milei winning because they think that he is a WEF Zionist plant that tricked Argentinians into voting for him. In this case, then nothing has changed except Milei rebelled. So we shall see. We shall see what this guy is. But I'm a big Bitcoiner, but I don't think this guy's good. And I don't like Ron DeSantis either. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. Yeah. And if you're pro-Israel, then that means you're getting paid. That means you're in favor of genocide. That means you're in favor of war. And that's not good. And most people in the Bitcoin space are anti-war. But so when they just knee jerk to, oh, there's another Bitcoin president. It's like, that's not a good thing. So we'll keep following this. We follow the money, we connect the dots, we get the truth. So if he's getting money from Israel, can we trust him? Can we trust him? And if he's supporting the war in Ukraine, that means he's probably, at the very least, he's tangentially supporting the military industrial complex if they're not outright giving him money. I don't know how big a country of 45 million people's army is, but if he's supporting the war in Ukraine, then yeah, at the very least, he's a useful, he's a useful idiot, but I think he's more of a plant. He comes in saying libertarian things. It's like Trump. Trump came in and ran a populist campaign, and I'm going to help the working class Americans, and I'm going to bring these factories back. And Trump gave a $1.4 trillion tax break to the richest people. Trump kept the 7 wars going. Trump bombed Syria. Trump was there when the military budget got increased. Trump opened up, public lands for drilling. Biden has done just as much bombing and opened up more lands for drilling as well. But so I don't trust these guys. I don't trust these guys at all. Yeah, somebody just put in the chat 70,000 people in the Argentinian army. So, and this is what happens. This is when you have no real left. This is when you have corrupt people. Is then these right-wing populists jump up there. And true progressives don't fight hard enough. Bernie didn't drop the gloves, man. My good friend Joe Biden in that last debate, he kept saying that. If Bernie was our president, things would be 10 times better. There's no two ways about it. We would have Medicare for all, So I'm suspect of this guy Milei. That's my final word on that. We're going to keep seeing what he does, but I'm not celebrating this. I'm not celebrating this at all. So follow the money, connect the dots, get the truth, and shave your knuckles for justice. Boom.